So, that right there, focus, is the screw. The problem is this screw goes in this. This is not easy to film with one hand. Go in there. And the problem I was having, poor camera look, I'm sorry, is that it's very, very, very loose fit, if you can see that. So what I did, and the problem was, you'd have the cylinder in the gun, and the cylinder was all woppy jaw. Can't have woppy jaw cylinder. That ain't no good. This is a old H&R model 732, chambered in 32 Smith & Wesson long. Old cowboy round. Getting kind of hard to find ammo for at this point. Nothing really special. It was just target rounds. I carry it for defense, but I'd say a couple of those in anybody, and they're going to it's at least going to ruin their day. That's not the point. So I needed that screw replaced to tighten up that, so the cylinder isn't all woppy, and accuracy gets better, and it quits wearing my barrel in a funny way, which I also probably end up needing to make a new barrel for this at some point. Is the gun worth that? Of course not. The gun, I paid $120 for it. In its current condition, and I've shot it a lot, it's probably worth $50. At some point, I may just duplicate this and maybe make the frame a bit larger in chamber 1 and say, I don't know, 45 ACP or 9mm or something. And just have a big revolver. And the mechanism, how the trigger works, I like it. It's a double action. You can't bump the hammer and fire it. It's a convenient enough size that I can easily conceal it on my skinny frame. I like it. I like the little gun, but I'd like one in barrel caliber. So that may be a project y'all eventually see as me making a bigger one of those. Anyhow. So how it started was a little piece of stock that I threw right down in there. You got part of it off. Start with that. 3/8, I think. That was actually on old Ford trucks. There's a long metal rod, looks like a little hand crank thingy, to lower the spare tire from beneath the gas tank. That's what that rod came from. But that rod ended up in the spindle, and this little fellow is my parting tool. And I did all the turning with that little fella. So it got turned down to this size heel. And then after that, I haven't debored the rest of this yet. So I turned, there's 3 steps in it. There's the head, which is 3/16. This is now 0.161. I reamed this about 3 or 4 thousandths over its original size. And I'm guessing at that. I don't know how much wear there was. So that's now 161. This is now 160 and a half. So 0.1605. And this down here gets turned down to 0.15 for a 8/32 thread. So that got done. How you do the threads on it, because you obviously can't thread in a milling machine. Notice that little ring mark there? That's for me setting a die right there, and you bring the quill down with the part still in it. And a little very gentle pressure on the handle over here as you turn the die with a wrench. And that works out pretty good. I've cut a lot of threads that way. So those threads. I am about 2/10 off of this diameter of where I wanted to be. I was shooting for 165 or 160.05, 160 and a half. I'm actually 160.03, I think it was. So I ended up a little under. I can live with that. And last, you got to put a screw head on it. Over here in the vise, saw, cut my part off, because you really can't do parting that well. I cut a relief on the threads with a little parting tool. I wouldn't try and part this off in the mill. And even if I did, it would end up in one of my chip piles and I would never see my part again. So, do that. This is a sleeve. I forget the diameter. It's just cold rolled steel, nothing special. I turned a Morse staple inside of, so I can fit my chuck and my center and any other tooling I want for whatever reason. I forget what I use the center for. I've used that for something once before. I used that in conjunction with a indexing head because I wanted a live center for some reason. I forget what the job was. It made sense then. Anyhow, it allows me to hold very small parts like this and there and cut screw heads and other little features I otherwise could not do. I want to make another one of these with 4 sides, another one with 6 sides, so I can use a drill chuck for a lot of things. I'm also going to drill and tap a hole in the back of my chuck to act as a drawbar and keep my chuck from wanting to fall out. I'll probably make another variant of that so I can use those collets in here as well and not just the chuck. Anyhow, tiny Liberty screw made on a Bridgeport lathe. Apparently it's a lathe and a milling machine and everything else. You want to get into gunsmithing and you want to do all kinds of random little projects? Buy this first, buy lathe second. And buy a massive lathe and use this for your tiny lathe work. Looks great for me. Dead bug. Bad.